What's up everyone, Springer17 here, come to you with a new review, rambling review for the Legacy United GoBots 3-pack. I just recently picked this up, it was on quite a decent sale over at Zavvi in the UK, not a sponsor, and I just thought it would be neat to have these three moulds. I've not actually got any of the previous versions of these characters, and I just think they look quite a cool little collection. And like I said, very good price that I got it for, so I wasn't going to complain too much. So, without further ado, let's go, bots. I'm very sorry for saying that. So we're going to start by looking at Treads, which is the Warpath mould from Siege. So, never had Warpath. It was sort of when I stopped kind of collecting for a little while. I didn't ever end up actually picking him up, but I thought the mould was really cool. This, again, was probably the one I was most excited for, because I just think it looks neat, a neat little tank thing. However, it's unfortunately ended up being the most disappointing. Tank mode is a tank. I mean, you can't really deny that. It doesn't hold together great. You can see some of the tabs just popping out there. It's supposed to hold in sort of closer to the body, but it's not really holding very well. From the underside, it looks fine. I mean, you're not going to look at the bottom of the tank most of the time, are you? Turret spins around all the way and goes up and down slightly. So I'm going to just quickly transform this back into robot mode, which is where I think the major issue really comes from. Now, because I can, and you should, with this, yes, he can pooth, or turds. That sounded a lot more like turds than I was hoping it would. Anyway, yes, so you can just pop the little head out there and do that. In fact, you have to do that to be able to shorten the barrel. So the barrel slides inside the chest there, slides in and out, so you can have it in for robot mode as well. You can have it out for robot mode if you want to, but obviously it's designed to be in. So, to start with, little panel on the bottom. This is the only piece of parts forming. It's a little bit of an accessory, supposed to be a shield. But it's essentially just a bit that they needed to hold everything together. It sort of tabs in under here and holds the whole alt mode front together, because it's a little bit wobbly, a little bit flexible. Okay, so I can now pull these apart. Now they come apart a little difficultly, and the transformation is the biggest issue I have. I like the alt mode and I love the robot mode, but the transformation is the biggest problem for this guy, because there's a lot of fiddly little bits. So inside the leg here are the whole treads. Now some of that just becomes the foot, so this whole outside bit here is just the foot, but the rest of it is just kind of folded up and turned around. So there's a lot of twisting and turning. I'm just going to move the arms out of the way just to make life a little easier. So this panel folds, then the legs twist, and then that looks into there, and then they can twist back, but you want to get that out of the way first of all, to then spin it all the way back round, and then this back bit can slot on to the back there. Now I thought, when I saw that tabbed on, I thought, oh, that means he's not going to have any ankles, but he does. That actually tabs in onto a separate part, and the ankle is on a different hinge entirely, so it's a little... Not as restricted as I thought it was going to be. But yeah, this transformation just knowing it's more going into alt mode, because all of these have to kind of tab together in a specific way, and they're just a pain to get into the right place, if I'm honest. So you can pull that round, push that down, spin that all the way back round, make sure that folds in as well. Spin this back panel in, turn the leg around, and there we have the legs. Pretty much done now. Arms, you've got this panel at the back here. Easiest thing to do is fold that up, fold that in, and then flip that back down. Make sure the turret's on straight, and fold the panel back up. And then for the arms, it's pretty straightforward. You just bend them and then fold in the treads on the back. So bend at the elbow, fold in the treads, on treads, saying treads a lot. And then this instructions suggest to put it there. I think it looks all right. It's just a bit of a kind of nothing really. But I love this alt mode, and I love the robot mode, and I love the colours of it. the sort of gunmetal grey with the sort of slightly blue-green kind of colour. Those eyes on that head are very nicely painted. A little bit of red in there, and obviously you've got the tiny little Decepticon logo on the front here. But yeah, I love the robot mode. The alt mode's okay. I just really don't like that transformation, because trying to get all of these panels at the bottom lined up when it's such a small figure and I've got such thick fingers, it's just annoying. It's just an irritation. But that is Treads. Next, we're going to take a look at Pathfinder, who is a repaint of the Cosmos mould from the Velocitron line, and also it's just fairly recently been re-released in its own box as well. Comes with one actual accessory rather than just a bit of a parts forming piece. So you've got this little flag here, which also doubles as a blaster. So you can plug it in on the back here if you want to just stick it on the back and have it stuck up like that, or it can go into either of these ports on the side, just for him to have a weapon. I'll just take that off for now. But I love this alt mode. I think this looks absolutely fantastic. I love how goofy it is. It's just like, why would a spaceship be this shape for any particular reason other than it needs to transform into a robot, so they need somewhere to put all the parts? It's absolutely ridiculous, but I love it. I love that, just how bright and colourful it is. Bit of yellow coming through, which is unfortunate. I'd like it if those were able to be the blue as well, so then it sort of hides the fact that it's going to do something a little better. But I think all around, like the detailing, you've got some exhaust jet kind of things on here. You've got little blasters built into the front. So yeah, it is really, really nice. Now with this one, you can't spin the head around without at least partially transforming it, so you can't poof him, unfortunately. But we'll start the transformation. So you pull out these bits, which are going to be the arms. You can then fold out these two panels on the side because they lock the legs in place. So fold out the legs, flip the back forwards, and that sort of gets the legs and the crotch in place. Then you can pop these bits back down, separate the legs and fold them up, and then take these outer bits here, flip them all the way around. I have had a bit of trouble sometimes getting these bits actually sat in place properly. See, sometimes depending on the angle that you're trying to bend it at, it doesn't really like to go in smoothly, but it does always get there, and I don't think I'm going to break it by trying to sort of use a little bit of force on there. With the back, you slide this bit out, and that's the reason why the head can't spin around, because when that's in, it gets in the way. Whereas there, it doesn't. You spin this whole part around, flip that forward, and that kind of hugs and tabs in at the back there. Then you flip these side bits forward to lock in the shoulders, and then you've got the fists tucked away inside here. And again, what an excellently goofy robot mode this is. I keep confusing those words today. It's absolutely bright and colourful and stupid. Yeah, there's a bit of a mismatch on colours because they've painted yellow on the blue plastic, whereas the rest of it is just yellow plastic, so that's not perfect, but I think they've done a good enough job, especially since that yellow isn't visible in alt mode anyway. Got the little fists here that don't swivel, unfortunately, but they've got the sort of exhaust little cannons on there. The problem that I've found with my one is that the arms are a bit loose. This one extremely, his right arm is very loose. Left arm, not so much, but it still doesn't take a lot of effort to move it around. And they're pinned in, so I don't really know why that's such a problem. Otherwise, you've got the little head, which I believe is the same as Cosmos. I've not seen that one up close in detail, so I believe it's exactly the same. I don't think there was any retooling that went on for this guy. And then you've got the weapon, which you can put in as a flag if you want to, or obviously, same as in alt mode, you've got the 5mm peg on the side to use as a gun. And yeah, I think this guy, I mean, this was probably the one I was least excited about, and it's actually pretty enjoyable. It's chunky, it's decent, it just feels nice to handle. It's got a nice transformation, nothing's too fiddly. Can be a little bit difficult to get everything kind of smushed together at the end, particularly with getting the arms in, making sure everything actually pegs in all right. I think there's a little bit of a clearance issue with these hinges up on the shoulders, but it feels really nice and it looks really cool. I love the colours on that sort of bright yellow for the majority of it, with the blue and that lovely little red trash can head there. So that is Pathfinder. And finally, last but absolutely not least, we have Smallfoot. So Smallfoot is probably the most recent use of this mould, I believe, because it's been used for the current Gears, the retro edition, and obviously the previous version that came out. So this is probably the newest of all of these moulds, if I'm not mistaken. Little vertical mode, I love the colours on this. I wasn't expecting to like this as much as I do, but it reminds me of, anyone in the UK, Starburst. If you look at like an orange Starburst, it's kind of that kind of shade with the sort of reddy pink detailing on here. I don't even mind sort of the chest plate hanging off the back, that because you don't really look at it from the back. It looks really nice, rolls really nice. It's the only one of these really that's designed to properly roll. The Treads has got tiny little wheels in his treads, but not really much for rolling for that one. But yeah, this one, I really have sort of fallen in love with this figure. I don't know whether it's the mould or the colours. I've not got Gears myself, so I don't know whether I'd feel the same about that one, but I just think this one looks really, really neat. And so does my son, as he keeps trying to steal it from me when it's sat around the house. Comes with a gun. So you've got this gun, which is kind of reminiscent of the traditional Autobot gun design. Just nicely painted in silver, a couple of pegs on the side, a couple of pegs, one on the side and one on the top, so you can peg it in there, but obviously the magazine section would get in the way. You can peg it in on either side. On this side it's just not quite as secure because that bottom peg gets in the way, or you can have it facing backwards if you wanted to. So yeah, it's a nice little gun. I'm glad it's there, but it's not really a massive departure from what we've already seen. The transformation for this figure is where I think it really shines. I absolutely love this transformation. I've seen a few videos of it, but like I said, not tried it myself, and I really like how it does it. So all of the wheels at the bottom will fold up, but we'll do the front ones in a bit. So those fold up. You pull this away from the back, pull this out there. It tabs in there very securely, and it's not like it sort of holds these together, but they're also secure on their own. So it's not as if it's needed to hold it. None of this feels loose. The wheels are a little bit easy to move, but none of it feels bad to use. And as long as you're not obviously squeezing it or anything like that, then it does work really well. So that's that sort of out of the way for now. We'll just leave that as it is. Then you sort of get in here and pop up these sides. So you can do that just by lifting the legs or getting a nail in underneath there. Fold out the feet. Fold up those parts underneath there. Now, the instructions don't say to turn the head around, but I prefer it turned around just so it's a bit more hidden. Obviously, it's underneath. You're not likely to see it anyway. But if you unfold that, you can then spin the head around because there's not quite enough clearance once you've folded this back up. Fold in the wheels, and I think this is where there's some really smart engineering, because the mushroom pegs on there are actually where the wheels tab into on the back. So that's actually really smart sort of reuse of things that are going to have to be there anyway. It's going to have wheels, so we may as well have the wheels actually be part of a locking mechanism for the robot mode. It's not the most secure, but it's secure enough. I think this is quite a size backpack, but it's not heavy. It's not overly unbalancing the figure. Fold out the arms, and then we can fold in the chest, which tabs in there, and you fold down the chest piece as well. And then the arms, you can just straighten out. Now this one does have wrist swivels, is nice. I seem to remember, I think... No, Treads does, but they're very tight, which I hadn't even noticed previously. But this one does have wrist swivel. I mean, this is my favourite of these three, if you hadn't already been able to tell. Just the colours, they're bright, but they're unique. It's not just your traditional reds and blues and yellows. It's something a little bit different. I love the sort of proportions of the alt mode. It's sort of a short, chunky bot, which obviously these were anyway. That head sculpt, I would have liked a bit more paint, but it does look nice, and I like the fact they've painted the visor. The visor and the eyes are actually a slightly different colour to the visor itself, which is nice. The chest piece is nice. That comes as a separate piece in the box, so obviously no one... I think mostly for gears, actually, no one could steal it, but with this it comes in a fully sealed, closed box, so no one's going to anyway. Slight differences in paint matching, because they've used the orangey, pastel-y orange paint on the feet here, where it would be red plastic, but that's the only place where that's actually painted plastic rather than just being moulded, apart from the black, obviously. But that, you really don't notice that in robot mode, obviously, unless you're looking at it from the side. And it's still quite a close match, to be honest, in person. Obviously, it's got your regular ankle swivels. It poses really nicely. Got over 90 degrees there at the knee, which is excellent, especially for a deluxe figure. Double jointed elbows. I mean, I'm going to stop gushing over this eventually, but it is fantastic mould. Wrists rotate. Even ended up with butterfly joints because of the way that the transformation happens with the arms. It's even got butterfly joints that actually work, have a decent range both forward and backwards. So yeah, that is absolutely fantastic. I love this little mould. And then the gun, you can either pop it in her hand, I don't actually know, their hand, I suppose. So you've obviously got that, or same as in, not quite the same as in alt mode. There's a slot here where you can plug that in and either put it up for pointing up or pointing down with either of the 5mm pegs. Just have that stored on the back. But yeah, I really like Smallfoot and just the gears mould in general. These colours really make it pop. I just love the simple little design of them. Just some comparisons here. Here's the Legacy G1 Optimus. So they're a little bit shorter, probably about the same size. Smallfoot a little bit shorter. There, we've also got which one? Here we go. Shattered Glass. So we've got Shattered Glass Earthrise Prime, who's obviously Voyager scale, who's a little bit larger, which you would expect, but still scales nicely with these guys. So yeah, I'd suggest if you're interested in getting these guys, look out for them on cheap, because they were less than half price for how much I paid for these figures. And so, like I said, I only got them a few days ago, so I've been really enjoying messing around with them. They're not all winners, but I think especially in robot mode, they all look fantastic. Alt mode, they all look good. I think Treads is the only real one that I'm not as much of a fan of as I'd have hoped. But that was just mostly because I'd never really seen much about the Warpath mould. But anyway, that's my look at the Legacy United GoBots 3-pack. Feel free to comment and like, and let me know what you think of them, and I'll catch you in the next one.